Welcome to Bet the Edge. It's Thursday, January 12th. Thank you, everyone, for watching on our NBC Sports YouTube channel. In just a few moments, Drew and I will be joined by NBC Sports' very own Peter King. He's going to share his thoughts on who he thinks are the most deserving candidates for multiple NFL awards, including Coach and Comeback Player of the Year. We're also going to talk about some live underdogs this weekend, who we think can reach the Super Bowl from each respective conference. All that and more come up on Bet the Edge. My main guy, Drew, is next to me. Drew, how are you doing today? And what are you looking forward to most this weekend?
Oh, boy. I mean, it feels like it's wild card weekend is still, forever away. These next 2 days waiting for the games to kick off are going to be interminable. But that said, love the way the market is shaping with a lot of the positions that I already have in hand. We got caught by surprise a little bit yesterday. There was rumors Tua was going to get cleared. He was going to practice. He may be going against the Bills. Those turned out to be incorrect. And that has now steamed to Buffalo -13. We're seeing that total down at 43.5. Both those prices look correct to me, assuming that Skylar Thompson gets to go, particularly with his game knee. But the market that I'm paying the most attention to, that I am patiently waiting to fire on, is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they ought to be favored against the Chargers. This has drifted out to Chargers -2.5, flat 110 right now at some of the market makers. That is a lot of confidence in Staley and company on the road. Jaguars, I think, are being wildly underpriced in this one. So waiting as long as possible. The idea that I might be able to get Jags +3 is very, very appealing. They make for a great long teaser leg right now. You can tease them out to 8.5. But looking at them on the money line right now, +122 is sort of the best price that I can get. And I may end up taking that today. I may wait to see if it drifts any more, but I think still Jags are the play. And that's maybe my favorite look right now on the board.
I love that. Yeah, Jaguars playing their best football this season. Although since 2002, Drew, home underdogs are 5-13 on the money line, 9-8-1 ATS. Not great outright winners, but like you said, Chargers, Staley traveling across the country to take on the Jaguars, playing their best football. Yeah,
We're regressing to the mean this year. Bucks and Jags are winning, buddy.
Yes, sir. We'll see what happens, but let's not waste any more time because we'll be talking about all the wild card weekend here, break it down a little later. Let's talk some NFL awards with our main man, Peter King. I need to know. In fact, I must know, Peter, how are you doing today? How's your week been? And what's your plans for Wild Card Weekend?
My plans for Wild Card Weekend. I went to Buffalo last weekend and had two nights that were Sunday night is always sort of a sleepless night, but Saturday I worked a lot too. And so I came home and, man, I just, I can't do what I did at 35, man. So I said, I'm going to stay home and monitor the games from afar this weekend, and then next weekend I'll be back on the road.
I love it. What was the opening kickoff return for the Bills? Was that the moment of the season in the NFL?
It's the moment of the season in the NFL, no question about it. There have been a lot of them. Baker Mayfield winning a game 10 minutes after putting on the Rams uniform and all that. There have been a bunch of really interesting moments this year in the NFL. As a matter of fact, it's a great idea. Do a column at the end of the year on the moments of the season in the NFL. I'm going to write that down. You guys just gave me a fantastic thought, so thank you.
I love it. Well, I'm glad you got to be there to see it in person because that was absolutely electric.
I'll just say one thing about it that is so interesting. We wonder about sort of the power of these moments and all that. And so after the game, I asked Nyheim Hines about his relationship with Damar Hamlin. And he basically talked a lot about how he was one of the first people to introduce himself when he got to Buffalo, mid-season trade acquisition, just 2 months and a week ago from Indianapolis. So he shows up. He's a stranger in a strange land. And so Damar introduced himself, and almost every day when they were together this year, practice, game, whatever, he would say something to the effect of, "You're going to take it to the house this week. This is the big week. You're going to do it." And he did it last week before they played the Bengals.
Yeah.
And so now obviously he's not there, but those words are ringing in Nyheim Hines' ears, and he says, "I have got to do something." And if you don't think Damar Hamlin had a little assist, it's like in hockey or if you're John Stockton in basketball, who threw the last pass, who gave you the assist? Give DeMar Hamlin an assist for that play.
I love that breakdown. Gosh, man, yeah, that was incredible, and the true love that all the players and people in the community have for Hamlin. It all of it is so genuine, like that. He clearly is just an amazing person, and very, very happy for the outcome we have at this point. But let's pivot a little bit here to talk about some of the awards this season. So our show through the balance of the year, we've been handicapping these every single week, trying to find value in the future markets because, frankly, it's one of the more interesting side plots of the NFL. Like, it's very difficult to predict the winner. So the Super Bowl, betting on the Super Bowl and the conference and all that sort of stuff, it's just tougher to make money that way. But the awards markets, we're basically shaping a lot of these, and the one that's been the most kind of come up the most, people ask us the most questions about, has been Coach of the Year. And usually by this time we have a pretty good idea who's going to win what. Like, there's not a lot of uncertainty once all the games have been played, but it feels like Coach of the Year is still kind of up in the air with like maybe a three horse race here. How do you look at what to expect when the Coach of the Year votes get tallied, and who do you think is the most deserving candidate?
I voted for Brian Daboll of the Giants, but it's always strange when you do these award votes because everybody talks about the MVP the whole year. I think everybody pretty much feels like Patrick Mahomes is going to win it, and I think he should. He's got my vote. But the Coach of the Year is so difficult this year, and it's difficult many years. I mean, I'll tell you, I thought very seriously about Kyle Shanahan. And for a while, I was going to give it to Kyle Shanahan. But then watching the Giants down the stretch, clinch a playoff spot after stumbling a few times, and watching Brian Daboll resuscitate the career of Daniel Jones, I thought the Giants were going to be a bottom 4 team entering the season. No question, no ifs, ands, or buts about. They had to get their cap right. They cut a bunch of good players like James Bradbury, and they were a total absolute mess. So Brian Daboll gets my vote. I think Shanahan deserves a lot of consideration. I think Sean McDermott does too. The other two guys who it pained me not to put him in my top 3. One is Mike Tomlin, who I don't know how in the world the Pittsburgh Steelers finished 9-8. Tell me, please. I don't know.
As a Steelers fan, Pete, I don't know. I really don't know.
I mean, that was pretty incredible. But you know what? I liked the last 3-4 weeks overall of Kenny Pickett. And I feel like he gives them a little bit of hope going into next year. And then the other guy is Kevin O'Connell. And, I feel bad. You can only vote for, one of these guys, and the AP ballot asks you to vote for your top 3. So my top 3 in order were Daboll, Shanahan, and McDermott.
Yeah, I love that. I placed a little Daboll a week ago, so I'm very excited to hear you say that. And I agree with you. I didn't expect the Giants to be anything more than a 5 or 6 win team, and the fact that they did a complete 180.
I didn't think they'd win 5 or 6 games.
Yeah,
no,
I'm
being honest. I mean, if you asked me to pick before the year, I would have said 3 wins, maybe 4, at the outside 5. That's how good a job I think Daboll did.
And Saquon Barkley being healthy certainly helped. Daniel Jones only throwing 5 interceptions this season, having a career high in yards and completion percentage. I mean, he's done a terrific job. And you just look at week 1, that 2-point conversion to win the game shaped their entire season. All right. Yeah. So I really like Daboll here, but like you said, there's so many qualified candidates. And the same goes for the Comeback Player of the Year award, because I'm pretty much in on Geno Smith. We didn't think that he would be the starter. We didn't think he'd lead Seattle to the playoffs. We saw how bad Denver looked with Russell Wilson, and Geno Smith just really fit right in. But on the other side of that, there's 2 running backs that were top 10 picks in fantasy. They're always hurt, but this year they were healthy, and it made the difference, Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley. So my question to you is, this is obviously a 3-person race. I will not throw Jared Goff's name in here. Who do you like of those first 3?
Well, look, I didn't vote for any of the people you just referred to.
Oh,
okay.
I voted for Nick Gates, the center of the Giants, for a guy who has his tibia shattered And then 13 months later, and also his fibula broken. And then 13 months later, I mean, he had 3 major breaks of bones in his leg. And for him then to reclaim his starting job with the Giants, basically 14 months later, I'm sorry, it's an open and shut case for me. As far as everybody else under consideration, I voted Barkley second and Geno Smith third. Okay. And look, everybody will say, well, geez, Geno Smith wasn't hurt. He what is that, a comeback from the bench?
Yeah.
Well, yes. Yeah, it is. I think it's justified to vote for Geno Smith. I think it's absolutely fine because there is no definition of the comeback player of the year award.
No.
There isn't one. You can have him come back from injury, from a personal problem, from being exiled to nowhere as Geno Smith has done for 7 years. So anybody who votes for Geno Smith, I have no problem. I wouldn't have a problem if you voted for Jared Goff either. I mean, to me, the Detroit Lions, that's another. I mean, to not vote for Dan Campbell here, to not vote for Doug Peterson. I mean, there are 7 coaches that you absolutely could justify, being here. But here's what I say about Jared Goff. Okay, the Detroit Lions are stumbling around after 7 games. They're 1-6. It looks like the same old Lions. Chris Spielman and Brad Holmes are going to go look for another coach after this season. And then in the last 9 games, they go 7-2. And Goff's touchdown to interception ratio is 15-0. Now, I don't know what else you have to do to get consideration for some award. Reclamation project of the decade, maybe. But I mean, Jared Goff, I think, I tip my hat to him for what he did this year with the Lions. Plus, all these other guys, Aiden Hutchinson, great. Yeah, Jamal Williams, great. Penei Sewell, great. I mean, this is a great example of what happens when you draft well and you have a lot of high picks.
Not to derail us, but do you think Goff earned the long-term starting role in Detroit, or if you were Detroit?
He's got 2 more years at whatever, 30 or 31 million a year on the cap. He absolutely unequivocally enters next year as the starter for the year. And then let's see what happens. Here's the issue that I say with the Lions. It'd be dumb for them to use one of their top 2 picks in the first round on a quarterback, at least in my opinion. You're just muddying the waters. Jared Goff, what would you be saying to Jared Goff after he played this year, finished the season last year, and you pick a quarterback in the first round? You're slapping the guy in the face. So don't pick a quarterback in the first round. That would hurt your team. Continue to build a rising roster of young talent. That's what Brad Holmes should do.
I think there are people who are kind of whispering that they have enough assets to go get a guy like Lamar Jackson if his tenure in Baltimore is over or something like that. I'm fascinated to see. I have
a question about Lamar Jackson.
Sure. Okay?
Lamar Jackson likely will miss his 6th start of the year this year. That's out of 18. He's also missed 3/4 of the game that he got hurt in. So Lamar Jackson will have missed 37% of the Ravens season injured. Last year, he missed 35% of the Ravens season injured. Here's my question. If you are any team and you are going to sign Lamar Jackson to an offer sheet of, let's say, $45 million a year, mostly guaranteed over 5 years, let's just say, okay? And then you also have to give 2 number 1 draft choices to the Ravens if the Ravens don't match, right?
Yep.
That, in my opinion, is the definition of insanity.
You know what? Here's the problem. As quarterback starving teams do insane things. Look at what the Browns did last year with Watson. Look at what the Broncos did to get Wilson. They gave up an absolute king's ransom.
Russell Wilson plays all the time.
Sure, but he's age is a consideration surely in a lot of these decisions.
I'm sure it is, but those who do not study history are condemned to repeat it, or whatever that dumb cliche is. Why, when you see for 2 years in a row a player who makes his living with his legs as much as his arm, and you are going to guarantee him $45 million a year and give up 2 ones for him?
Somebody's going to do it.
That, to me, that is insanity.
I can almost promise you someone will do it, because
I'll bet you. I'll tell you what. I will bet you, and I don't gamble on football, but I would be happy. We will bet. Let's bet a 6-pack of Peroni.
Oh, now we're talking.
Okay.
I love it.
I'll bet you a 6-pack of Peroni.
I love it.
And if I'm wrong, I'll write in my column, well, geez, I was wrong about this. But listen. It has to be, to me. I mean, if somebody offers them 4 years, $35 million a year, mostly guaranteed, and has to give up 2 ones, that's not tremendously irresponsible, at least in my opinion. But if you pay him at the top of the market, top 3 or 4 quarterbacks, and guarantee more than half of it, that I don't think anybody will do.
We'll move on to offensive rookie of the year, but my final thought was just what the Browns did last year in the offseason, I think is they take 2-3 chances as an organization in the draft on a quarterback. It doesn't work. They're banging their heads against the wall. The fans are beaten down and exhausted. So they eventually are just like, fine, we'll give up everything and we'll give a question. We'll reset the market for a guy that we don't even know, if he's the long-term answer. And so teams do crazy things when they're quarterback starved. And what's interesting as we look at the offensive rookie of the year market, a couple things. You're right. I agree with you. I had low expectations for Kenny Pickett coming into the season, but he played amazing, particularly down the stretch. I mean, looking at the playoff field, I really wish the Steelers had gotten the 7th seed. I'd love to see Buffalo Pittsburgh rather than Buffalo Miami, considering who's taking the field. Pickett's I think he has an interesting case despite his statistics not being all that impressive, just because of the wins. And then you have a number of other wide receivers who really popped this year. There's a couple running backs who were extremely impressive on playoff bound teams, which makes offensive rookie of the year the toughest handicap for me. I can't tell you who's going to win at all. I think it's probably going to come down to like the new voting structure and how how voters are putting 2, 3, and then ultimately how it all gets tallied together. Like, is that a fair read on this market, or do you think that there is a consensus choice?
I mean, look, again, I did not vote for anybody I doubt I voted for somebody who was going to win. Okay. But first, let me talk about this race. Like, to me, I think there are a lot of different candidates. I would not have Pickett in my top 3. Pickett was okay. I mean, he would not be he is not in my top 3. Guy who I have winning is Tyler Algier, the Atlanta Falcons.
Wow.
4.9 yards a carry, playing for a lousy team, had 2 or 3 huge games for them. Really resuscitated their offense at times when they desperately needed it because of a bad passing game. And my number 2 would be Ken Walker. Number 3 would be Brock Purdy. I don't like voting for a guy who played only a third of the season. But if you asked me about, there is not one soul on planet Earth who thought when Brock Purdy took over the quarterback job of the 49ers, that from the time he took his first snap to this moment right now, that he has been a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. But he has been. All you have to do is look at his week-by-week passer ratings. I think there's only one that was in the 90s, and every other one is like over 110. And so, to me, he steadied the ship for arguably one of the 2 or 3 best teams in football right now. And if Jimmy Garoppolo comes back, I don't think he's playing. I think Brock Purdy's playing.
Wow. Oh.
Well, but
I mean,
are you watching the
hot
game?
hand. Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah,
Ryan
no.
Hahn.
I like Jimmy was very good this year, and for him to lose the job because of injury would be amazing. And honestly, we're gonna have to probably.
But here's
assuming
the
they
question.
win, yeah.
Here's the question.
Sure.
Question.
Sure.
If you were to put these two guys side by side, okay, and watch them for an extended period, okay, Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy, who's been better this year?
Probably Brock from what we've seen, but I value the experience of Jimmy having been through a couple of playoff runs and being a little bit more of a stable answer. And honestly, like, there may be no wrong answer because the rest of the Niners are so freaking good that it might not matter who the quarterback is. But it's assuming they beat the Seahawks. I think we're going to have to ask that question next week, who's going to be the quarterback in the divisional round. And Brock Purdy, maybe there's a little bit of extra pressure on him this week, because if he doesn't, kind of give you the same level of performance that you've seen down the home stretch, maybe that makes it more likely he gets swapped.
But here's the question.
Sure.
I mean, Brock Purdy will have played 6 games and 3/4 of another. He will have won every game. Would you want to put a guy in the lineup who hasn't played in 7 weeks, coming off a significant foot injury? I mean,
it's a tough question.
I don't
think it's
a tough question at all.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even hesitate. I would just say to Jimmy, I said, look, and Jimmy is used to getting snowballs thrown at him by the 49ers.
That's a good point.
So I don't think it would shock him, nor if he's a reasonable person, it shouldn't shock him. I'm sure he'd be crushed by it, but I don't see there's any way, in my opinion anyway, that he should take the job if he's
okay. His future is not in San Francisco. I think we all know that. And him coming in and performing well gets him a huge payday next year somewhere. But coming in and losing after Brock Purdy won all those games would nuke him. So there's maybe a high risk, high reward for him to even go. So it's fascinating to think about it plays out. But boy, oh boy, does this have whiffs of Brady Bledsoe 2002. I mean, my goodness gracious. Yeah. Like, Bledsoe was the franchise guy. Brady comes in, he's hot, and they stuck with him in the playoff run, and boy, did that pay off dividends. So very, very fun storyline to follow in these playoffs, no doubt.
Yeah, I certainly like the look a lot. Brock Purdy won 5 straight games. He was the first quarterback to do that since Ben Roethlisberger as a rookie since 2004. And rookie quarterbacks in the playoffs since 1983, they are 9 wins, 18 losses. So Brock Purdy has a lot to do this weekend as he tries to beat the Seahawks for the 3rd time. But we're going to get into some wild card talk. Before we do that, everyone, make sure you download the RotoWorld app. Receive breaking player news all season long. Stay ahead of the competition by favoring players on your roster. Get the latest injury updates, player news, and much more delivered right to your phone. It's available in your app store today. Wherever you get your apps, make sure you get the RotoWorld app. We kind of alluded to this earlier, Peter. Lamar Jackson, he's considered questionable. I would go as far as doubtful. The line has now moved back from Ravens 6.5 underdogs to 9-point underdogs. In the same situation for another divisional matchup in the AFC, Tua Tagovailoa out for the Dolphins. Skylar Thompson likely be the quarterback. The line's moved from 9 to 13-point underdogs now. Drew and I like to take divisional dogs, divisional unders. That's usually a profitable strategy. But in the playoffs, no one wants to play a backup quarterback. No one wants to bet on a backup quarterback, I should say. So are we correct in looking at the Bills and the Bengals here as the 2 teams to advance?
I mean, I don't see any way that either team won't advance. Are you telling me that Joe Burrow is going to lose at home, likely to a 3rd-string quarterback or a second who's significantly injured? And on the other hand, or the Miami Dolphins and Skylar Thompson going to come to Buffalo. And look, the only thing I'll say about Buffalo right now is that they're not exactly clicking on all cylinders on offense. Some of that, I think, has been the opposition. Obviously, the Patriots have a very good defense. I think they were the number 4 defense in football this year. So somewhere in the top 10. So I don't blame the Bills for struggling some on offense. But I guess I would say that, and again, I don't mean to rain on anybody's playoff parade this year, but when I looked at the wild card round this year, I said, man, give me one game that really turns me on. And I mean, there really isn't one. I guess you would say Dallas and Tampa, but Dallas is playing like crap. Tampa has been crappy 2/3 of this year and has gotten bailed out by Tom Brady, 5 times in the fourth quarter? I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's just, tell me first of all, this is a great example of why expanding the playoffs was idiotic. Yeah, it gives people more games to watch, obviously. But by the end of this weekend, look at all the teams that could be 500 or below. Jacksonville, Dallas, I don't know, what's Seattle? I don't even, Tampa Bay. So I don't mean Dallas. I meant Tampa Bay. But I don't know. Playoffs should be a reward for good teams playing well. And unfortunately, playoffs are a reward for mediocre teams that win by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah, there's a lot of luck involved. I would rate right now the Detroit Lions over half of the rest of the field in the NFC. That team I really thought deserved to be here. Same with the Steelers. They deserve it over the likes of the Ravens and the Dolphins in their current form. I will tell you though, there are a couple of games that get me excited. Surely Jags Chargers, two young quarterbacks that we are dying to see in playoff mode. That one has juice.
That'll be fun.
I think Giants Vikings has juice too. We get to see if Daboll, if he can carry the success into the playoffs. Is 3-point dogs when you can say they have the better coach and the better defense. It's going to be an interesting matchup there. And then you mentioned it. I think Tom Brady, anytime he's in a playoff setting, it's much watched TV.
Hey, can I ask?
Sure.
Can I ask a gambling question?
Of course.
Don't gamble, but
of course.
right now, what is the over-under for Daniel Jones rushing yards this weekend?
I'll pull it up for you right now.
Yeah, we can pull that up for you, but it's probably going to be in the 28 range. 29 would be my guess.
It is 40 and a half.
Oh, 40 and a half. Wow.
Okay.
40 and a half.
Oh, that's a big number.
This is just my opinion. I think Brian Daboll is gonna have a lot of design, and Mike Kafka is gonna have a lot of design runs in the game plan.
They ought to. It's their best play. I hope so. If they've self-scouted, I think that's their best play. And honestly, it's so cool the way that they do it because it's all part of their scheme. They just give him lanes and let him use his greatest asset, which is very, very cool that's kind of come together as a marriage. But going back to sort of the dogs that have some juice here, Jags at 2.5 points, Giants at 3, Bucks at 2.5. Of those three, which underdog do you think really speaks
what's
to you?
The Bucks thing again?
They're dogs. They're 2.5-point dogs at home against the Cowboys.
I'll take Tampa.
Tampa Bay.
I'll take Tampa anyway. I'll take them. I take them straight up.
Yeah, we agree on that.
I don't know. I don't dislike the Cowboys at their peak.
Sure,
they can be really, really good. But look, I'm not saying in any way that Mike McCarthy should be in trouble for his job or anything like that. Okay, because I don't believe that he should be in trouble. But all I can say is this: this might be the only chance that Jerry Jones will have to go get a guy who he has always wanted to coach his team, Sean Payton. Okay, and he can look out at his team and say, well, let's see, in the last month, we had to go to the wall to survive the Houston friggin' Texans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then we lost in overtime to the Jacksonville Jaguars and could not stop them and allowed 40 points, even though the last touchdown was obviously a pick six.
Mm-hmm.
Then we gave up 34 to the Eagles. We beat the Titans.
Backup quarterback for the Eagles.
Over Minshew, and then beat Tennessee. which had just fallen off the face of the earth. And then, I mean, they get 118 passing yards. And in a game that meant something to them, lost to Washington by 20.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, what in the world is going on there? And so, look, I don't know what's going on, but all I'm saying is that I think if they bomb out Monday night, I'm not positive that Jerry Jones doesn't consider alternatives. But yeah. I doubt he will. But who knows? We'll see.
No, I like the parlay of Tampa Bay money line with Sean Payton, next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. That's a good parlay. And in general, anyone betting
you can actually bet on that.
I'm making it. Oh, okay. All right. You can't bet on it now. If they do, they will open a market. If they do fire McCarthy, they will open the market who will be the next head coach for the Cowboys. And Peyton would probably be like, you got to lay 400 to win 100 kind of. It's going to be a huge. It's going to be a huge. He'll be a huge favorite.
That's why you know what. That's really why.
Yeah.
If I'm Greg Penner, the minute I get an opportunity to hire Peyton, and look, I'm sure he's going to wait. Peyton, he's a smart guy. And I don't even know that he's going to take a job, honestly. And he doesn't either. I can tell you that. I talked to him the other day. He does not know that he is definitely coming out. He likes his life. He lives in L.A., has a nice home in L.A. during the season, lives the other part of his year, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I think he likes being a human being right now. And so I think it would have to be a really good situation for him to go. But anyway, be that as it may.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. And anyone betting on Tampa is betting that you haven't seen their peak this year. I agree with you. We've seen the Cowboys peak. It was a long time ago. I think people are hoping that Tampa had never been healthier. We haven't really seen them achieve it. I mean, that would be quite a story if Brady could drag this sub 500 team in the regular season to a deep playoff run. I think we'd all love to see it. He has provided the most entertaining football in the playoffs of my lifetime. So I'm not going to doubt the guy. So let's go Tampa Bay.
What better draw than Dallas Cowboys, who he's 7-0 all time against? He's never lost to the Dallas Cowboys.
That's really crazy.
Amazing.
That really surprises me. I don't know why, but that one surprises me quite a bit.
And he gets the standalone game all by himself too. So you know which way we're rocking on this podcast. But right before we get to Peter's AFC, NFC, and Super Bowl picks, just a reminder: if you guys don't have the NBC Sports Digital app, go download it now. Contests are free, easy to play, and you have a shot to win thousands of dollars predicting what's going to happen in the wild card round and Premier League this weekend, including not one, but 2 shots at $100,000 by guessing the outcome of our Sunday Night 7 contest between the Chargers and Jaguars, as well as the Ravens and Bengals. Wherever you get your apps, go get the NBC Sports Digital app, Sunday Night 7, 2 shots at $100K. All right, AFC and NFC champions, Super Bowl champion. Peter, you got to give us your picks because I preseason bet Bills and Bucks. All right, it would be a $10 bet to win $220, $100 bet to win $2,200, and I'm not feeling confident at all about that right now. But it is Tom Brady in the postseason, and the Bills have a lot to play for. So, who do you like the most out of AFC and NFC to?
Well, I picked the Bills and the Packers before the beginning of the year, so I like my chances a lot less than yours.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I thought about that this week because somebody asked me, but I don't have a great feel. But pressed to the wall, I'd probably say San Francisco, Cincinnati. I think those are the teams that are playing the best right now, with Cincinnati being 1 and Kansas City being 1A, very, very close, and then Buffalo being behind them. But I could see San Francisco. I mean, it's going to be hard, obviously, for anybody to go to Philadelphia and win. But for Brock Purdy to go to Philadelphia and win would be borderline miraculous. So, I don't know. I would say San Francisco and Cincinnati or Philadelphia and Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm. Does this year have a feeling though of like chaos, like a little uncertainty? Like there are some years where it feels very strong favorites. Yeah, this one not so much.
Let's look at it this way. If Cincinnati and Buffalo win this weekend, whatever you think of what the NFL did, the Bengals have to go to Buffalo now to get to the AFC Championship game. And, a lot of people in Cincinnati are going to cry about that. And I understand them being upset, but that's going to be tough, to win in Buffalo. Now, having said all that, I did something in my column this week where over the last 4 years, the home teams in the playoffs are only 24-20. And in championship games, they're only 4-4. So I think that I think home field in the playoffs, the importance is really diminished. But clearly, if you had your druthers, you wouldn't be playing Buffalo in Buffalo on the weekend of January 21.
Making it back to the Super Bowl is not going to be easy for the Bengals, but that's how it's supposed to be.
Hey, if the Bengals make an extra point at the end of the game in week 1 against the Steelers, we're not having this conversation. They're the 1 seed. This is, you win your games, guys. Crazy, Cincinnati fans, you can complain all you want that you didn't get to finish the game against the Buffalo Bills. Take care of your other games, and you're not even having this conversation. So it's going to be a fun playoffs.
All those little mishaps during the season count up to be crucial. Just ask the New England Patriots throwing a lateral to the Raiders, or they'd be in the playoffs. But Peter, you gave us so much great information on this show. I mean, I was super excited for you to come on. We really appreciate you. Before you go, though, I need you to say who you think is going to be the lowest scoring team in the NFL this weekend: the Dolphins or the Ravens? Dolphins or the Ravens?
I would say Miami will be the lowest scoring team this week, simply because you're asking a quarterback who's never, had to win in a ridiculous playoff environment like this. And again, I'm not saying Tyler Huntley, in Tyler we trust, but I just think even though he's hurt, they've got a better chance. And plus, Miami has got a huge injury in the backfield, obviously. I think that Baltimore's got a better chance to be able to run the ball this weekend than Miami does.
Yeah,
that's right. With the 100% there. Me and Drew are going to break that down, but I had to hear what you thought first. We just absolutely appreciate you, Peter. Make sure everyone watching, listening, go follow Peter on Twitter at Peter_King, and make sure you check out all his work on NBC Sports. He is the man. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks a lot, fellas.
All right, Drew. We alluded to it. Lowest scoring team in the NFL. Have some fun before we get out of here on the show. Dolphins sitting at plus 300. Ravens sitting at 350. We could talk about the Seahawks or the Giants or the Bucs, but we think it's a 2-horse race here. What you got?
I'll take the Ravens, and I think some of it just comes down to their way that they're going to play this game. I think they're going to try to slow it down. I think they're going to try to reduce the number of possessions here. The approach, you remember the game against the Steelers on Sunday Night Football a couple weeks ago, right? They really suppressed the number of drives in that game by running the ball so often. And they may find success. They may get a couple field goals here, but ultimately I don't see them succeeding in the red zone. And I think just in general, that's going to be a lower scoring game. I get it. The Dolphins are going to struggle, but still, Josh Allen could give them some short fields. Josh Allen could give the defense a score. That's kind of the way he's been operating this season. So I think just the fact that there's defensive touchdowns are a possibility, more so a possibility for Miami has got me taking the Ravens. What about you?
Naturally, I want to go Dolphins because Skylar Thompson's starting, and I just don't have any faith in that team. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill were banged up too in that last game, Week 18. They both had to leave the field, come back on multiple times. But we talk a lot about Zach Taylor and his second half adjustments, Drew. The Ravens may score in the first half, but the second half points are going to be very, very hard to come by no matter who's that quarterback. It could be Lamar, it could be Huntley, it could be Anthony Brown. And if it's Brown, I definitely like the Ravens to be the lowest scoring team here. But I'm probably going to take a little half a unit and bet both of them since they're plus 300 and plus 350. I don't see another team really scoring less points than either of these units. I'll trust in Geno. I'll trust in Daniel Jones's legs. I'll trust in Tom Brady. I think I'll go Ravens officially with you, but I'm going to play both because we have to have a little fun on here.
I dig it.
Jay and Drew tomorrow. Make sure you guys get their best bets. It's going to be one heck of a weekend. Super wild card weekend is what they're calling it, and it's going to be full of upsets potentially. That's what Drew and I want to see. So don't forget to check out NBC Sports Edge for more information, help you guys with your wagers. Thank you, everyone, for watching our NBC Sports YouTube channel. If you're listening in podcast form, don't forget to subscribe, rate us. Until next time, best of luck with all your wagers, everybody.